Welcome to the Decompression Chamber. I am your host, Andrea, and joining us this week is my shipmate, Sean Bowman. How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing great. How are you doing? So glad to be here finally on time.
Yes, that's all right. I've had my share of scheduling nightmares as well, so perfectly understandable. But thanks so much for joining us, and really excited to get your story about your time in the Navy. And thank you for being properly attired with the Navy hat. I should have worn mine.
My favorite hat. This is definitely my favorite hat. Sometimes I forget I'm wearing it. I'm like in a mood where I'm trying to just do something and I'm trying to stay focused, and someone just walks up. Thank you for your service. I'm like, what I do? What, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was at we were talking about before we got started, going to the supermarket. I went to the supermarket yesterday and there was a gentleman selling religious t-shirts or whatever like that. And I love Black Jesus, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
He's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
So, I was like, where's your church? He's like, West Virginia. I'm like, I'm probably, funding some Ku Klux Klan organization. But it's got a big shirt, and I love I'm trying to lose weight. And I said, you know what? Let's go exercise after we go to the supermarket. So I said, yeah, we're going to get back down to where we were, you know, just after I got out of the Navy when I thought I was in my best shape. So
Yeah.
I had forgotten that we were going to do this yesterday. And I'm just focused. We're just going to get on this trail. And where I live
Yeah.
in southern Pennsylvania, I've got this awesome rail trail. And what
Ooh.
makes a rail trail special is very subtle,
Right. Yeah, they
inclines.
couldn't have that much of a grade. Yeah.
Yeah, hardly any grade. And so it's just this trail in particular runs from like northern Maryland all the way up into York, Pennsylvania, which is about, okay, rewind. So it's like there's a highway that goes between Baltimore, Maryland, which is the crack capital of the world, all the way up to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which is the seat of government for the state of Pennsylvania. And that this
Gotcha.
trail almost does the entire distance. It's like 40 miles or so. So
Wow.
I call it the magic trail or the healing trail because you just get all wrapped up in just positivity and everything like that. I'm hugging trees right now because I like trees. But anyway, so I'm walking and I'm walking and I'm just in the zone, and I'm changing what I'm listening to because everyone should listen to Rat's album Dancing Undercover while doing any exercise. It's a perfect 36 minutes long. That's a great goal to start with.
Yeah.
And then I realized two things. A, I had missed the appointment
Yeah.
for the podcast. I'm out of and of course I'm out of range. But
Yeah.
number two is I had to go number two.
Oh
Okay.
no.
We're all family here. We're all
Yeah.
family. So if you want to know if bears poops in the woods, I don't know, but this bear actually had to do that. That's what I get,
Yeah.
for not planning correctly on both sides. And so I'm scrambling to contact you, Andrea, and I'm out of service, and I'm just like, you know what? Anybody else, I wouldn't feel so bad. But when it comes to this subject matter, when it comes to my shipmates and the brotherhood that we have,
Yeah.
it's very important to me. So again, I deeply apologize. I paid the ultimate price and saved a pair of underwear to begin with. Anyways, I'm just saying, and we're gonna get into that because anyone who's serving the Navy, especially in the early '90s, I don't know how they do laundry now. You know,
Yeah.
your drawers disappear, so we'll just leave that alone.
Yeah.
Leave that.
Yeah. Yeah, you do not have a full sea bag coming out of boot camp even. Let's be honest. Hilarious.
All
Well,
that, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
oh, absolutely. I'm super excited that Allison got us introduced and
Shout out
really
to Alex Chadwick. Yes, indeed.
excited to get your story. But yeah, give us a couple of quick background details, where you grew up and what childhood was like and what you thought about the military growing up.
All right, let's get into it. So I'm gonna tell everybody right now, like the song that Metallica made, Damage Incorporated. Honesty is my only excuse. So it's gonna be raw. I may say some dirty words. I may say dirty
Perfect.
words and praise Black Jesus. That's a whole nother story, a whole nother day. Not that I think he's black. I just don't think he looked like a roadie for Leonard Skinner back in 1970.
Fair enough. I agree.
So,
I concur.
so here we go. I'm originally from Carroll County, Maryland, and my family's kind of based around Carroll, Frederick County. So if you want to know the
Hmm.
area, Washington, D.C. is shaped like a diamond. So if you take that top point and
Okay.
go due north, you run right into the seat of the county of Carroll County, Westminster, Maryland. And at one time, Carroll and Frederick County were the same county. I don't know which year they split, but we have a lot of history, a lot of cultural history. A lot of people don't understand and know that slavery was alive and well
Oh yeah.
in the state of Maryland. The most of it, instead of being farming related, was related where someone would buy another human being and then they would find a job for them, and
Interesting.
it would this person or persons would work this job, and then the owners would receive the paycheck. That's how it
Uh.
mostly worked in Maryland. If you want to know more history about that, I implore you to read Frederick Douglass's
Oh yeah.
autobiography. It's really interesting when it talks about that in this area. So my family's done some history, and being that Maryland is one of the original 13, we were able to find records of our family back to 1790. And
Oh
a
wow.
few were enslaved and were freed or manumitted, which means your owner died.
Oh okay.
So
Yeah.
I've always been inside kind of a duality
Hmm.
of ruralism,
Yeah.
farming, country music, bluegrass music,
Yeah.
thing, and then this urban thing of,
Hmm.
our identity was Baltimore, Maryland, and if we wanted to see large groups of Black folks, you
Hmm.
had to go to Baltimore. So we had that aspect,
Right.
and I enjoyed that part growing up until I was about 12 years old, and then we left Maryland. My mother remarried someone,
Hmm.
and he happened to be a Navy veteran. He was
Oh
a
okay.
FC technician, and one of the first Black FC technicians to have a technical job in the U.S. Navy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, because going back to some history, I mean, really, it was only CS, culinary specialist was open, and the other rates, so like fire control technician. I mean, that wasn't open.
It
You know.
wasn't open to persons of color. Of course, it was definitely not open to women.
Right. Right.
Not and open to people who were openly transgender and or queer. I don't know
Hmm.
how we want to label that, but
Right.
of course, we all know that that's when you look through the centuries
Yeah.
of of sea, of people who live on the ocean.
Hmm.
There's always been persons of color. There's always been women. There's
Yeah.
always been people representing the queer community. And maybe that's a whole entire podcast we can go into.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? But
Sure.
I definitely think the U.S. Navy is a micro ecosystem of what this nation is, both positive and negative.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, that's
so,
true.
so we'll start with that. My mother married a Navy veteran,
Wow.
and immediately I started seeing certain things like the personality of being bipolar.
Ah.
Where
Yeah. Yeah.
you can be happy, but you never know when this person's going to be angry and upset.
Hmm.
And I never understood that until I served.
Yeah.
I didn't. Whenever I had bad grades, I wasn't punished. I was placed on restriction. Literally, you laugh. I'm dead serious.
Hey, you
All
stick with
these
what you
things.
know. Honestly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And his mentality was very similar. Was when you're around me, I want you on eggshells,
Hmm.
and you're always going to be focused on doing what I want you to do.
Yeah.
And I'll praise you every so often, but for the most part, you're just supposed to be happy with the meal I give you, type
Yeah.
of thing. So we moved to California, San Jose, California in 1982, just as, the whole Silicon Valley was just beginning to start and
Oh, you
boom.
were a Bay Area guy too. Okay.
Well,
I grew up
yeah,
in
well,
Walnut
I mean,
Creek.
technically, we lived there from 82 to 86.
Okay.
Um, do you know where Raging Waters water slide is?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was my neighborhood. If you just
Okay.
go a little bit further past, it's like that wouldn't be White Road, but it's on White Road. But then
Hmm.
you kind of Flint Avenue, whatever. There's a whole neighborhood just like if you're coming off the highway to go to Raging Waters,
Yeah.
there's an entire neighborhood. So right off of White Road,
Hmm.
my high school, Mount Pleasant High School. You
Yeah.
go the opposite direction. You got my middle school, Quimby Oak Middle.
Yeah.
You know, that's where I was first exposed to multicultural, you know,
Yeah.
environments,
Mhm.
and my stepfather would share stories of like he had traveled to this country and to that country and the different customs you learn there. And so
Yeah.
now I've got a hunger
Sure.
to not only do I want to and immerse myself in different cultures. My neighbors on one side were Portuguese, across the street that not only were they Mexican, but the mother was born and raised in Mexico and she only spoke Spanish to the
Okay.
kids.
Wow.
Samoan, Filipino, and I'm like, I want to see these places.
Yeah.
So turned 16 and we moved to the Chicago suburbs. So if anyone's seen the Breakfast Club,
Mhm.
bingo, that was the environment I was in. It was
Okay.
mostly white,
Mhm.
not as cultured, a little behind the times. And their way of thinking was, well, if you're a person of color, then you must be from the south side of Chicago and you're
Uh,
gang related or whatever.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so
it's
there's only like 10,
stereotype.
12 black folks going to this high school, Wheeling High in Wheeling, Illinois. Shout out to the Wildcats. But it's mostly Hispanic now.
Mhm.
The cultural shift that eventually came in, which is beautiful. But at that time, it was just, oh, you must be in a gang. So the 12 or 10 or
Oh,
12 black folks are like, yeah, we're a gang,
yeah.
or whatever. And then
Yeah.
here I come along, and by this time I'm 16. I can listen to hip hop. I was starting to freestyle just for fun,
Yeah.
but definitely hair metal. Uh, the speed metal that was coming out with Metallica and Anthrax and even Slayer.
Oh,
But
awesome.
also, I was into Christian heavy metal, which is very heavy
Wow.
in the Midwest in the mid '80s or what have you. So,
Yeah.
and by this time, I decided, I became very spiritual slash mostly just religious.
Mhm.
I just felt that I needed something to kind of get through the day. And living in that household, it was not the most positive thing. So
Yeah.
I needed some inspiration. So while most people were like every weekend going to keg parties and all this other stuff, I kind of stayed out of that loop. I would go here and there, and people like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm just kind of blow off some steam and trying to see what this is. I'm like learning about myself." And
Mhm.
I made the decision just after graduation that okay, we're gonna take some time, we're gonna travel, and this is
Good call.
1988, and just visit some friends in different parts of the country. Like born and raised in Maryland, spent some time that summer there.
Sure.
Went back to California to the Bay Area and learned, hung out with them a little bit, and then fast forward to the April following graduation. So that
Mhm.
was what 8, 9, 10 months. Where like yeah, we'll just say
Yeah.
11, 10 months later, I decided okay, well, nothing's going on here at home.
Yeah.
Um, I really don't want to go to college. I want to travel. I want to see things.
Yeah.
And my stepfather's always been telling me about, how out of all the other armed services, of course, the
Mhm.
Army had the coolest posters. I'm like,
Oh, of
yeah,
course.
I want to
Yeah.
dress green and paint my face.
Yeah.
And then the Marines have their whole brotherhood thing going on. So I
The
was like going
yeah.
that direction. And then he pulled me back. He said, well, do you want to sleep in a bed or do you want to sleep in a hole you dug? I'm like, I kind of like beds.
Yeah,
I got
beds are great. Not gonna knock beds. Yeah.
but then then there's the Air Force, but it's just they just weren't as fun. I'm just
Yeah.
they
Yeah, it
just
seems more
weren't as
like camp.
fun.
Yeah.
So I decided on my own. I didn't have any pressure from my parents or whatever like that. I'm 18 years old. I can make my own decisions. And they're like, they're pushing me out of the nest. And
Oh,
my
yeah.
mother and I are very close,
Mhm.
very close. And she just really just told me, she's like, you're an adult now. I've given you all the tools. You've seen enough stuff. You can make your own decision. So literally on my own, I contacted a recruiter, and I actually got lucky. I had a very good, honest recruiter who
Interesting.
wanted me to join, wanted to make sure I had everything I needed.
Mhm.
And there was a processing center literally 30 minutes away, Des
Mhm.
Plaines, Illinois, which did the entire Chicago area.
Yeah.
It's hilarious because this place is not big enough
Oh,
to
wow.
handle that kind of a volume.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so while you're going through your processing, you're literally crisscrossing each other from all four branches now.
Wow.
So and that kind of came into play. We're going to kind of come into that. So Literally, I got done. I got sworn in. I came home and said, I got something to tell you guys. I just joined the United States Navy. I ship out in April. Just like that. Just
Yeah.
like that.
Wow.
And my mother, I thought she was going to cry.
Oh, wow.
I
Yeah.
thought she was going to cry because out of happiness that I
Oh.
had
Oh,
made
interesting.
a very serious adult decision on my own.
Yeah.
She trusted the Navy was going to take care of me. She trusted that it's something that was going to enhance my life.
Yeah.
My stepfather, he could not contain himself.
He was giddy.
It's almost like he said all those days of restriction paid off. He wanted freedom, and he had already instilled certain habits
Mhm.
that definitely helped me once I got in.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you got some
Now,
prior knowledge.
just to kind of give you the influence of how I felt about the military. Now I'm at the age where I'm old enough to remember people coming back from Vietnam,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and some of that was kind of ugly.
Sure.
But I have my uncle Larry, who served in the Air Force, and again, this is during Vietnam when they're just starting to desegregate things. He was an MP,
Mhm.
and he said his first night they put him on an outpost in the middle of nowhere,
Oh, wow.
and there had been action on that side of the base, but he's there pitch black by himself.
Wow.
And immediately that he got through that first night, even though he was scared, he's kind of a big guy and he can handle himself.
Mhm.
But other black uh, airmen said, "You stay close to us. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll make sure that never happens to you again." So
Yeah.
there's still a lot of that going on. But he told me a really cool story of as he became fully engaged in being an MP. Of course, they were the police of the
Mhm.
base,
Yeah.
and around the base, he served with another gentleman who was a white gentleman. So they created this deal. They're like, if it's a white guy acting out, I'll take care of it. If it's a black guy, you take care of it. That way, there won't be any racial
Yeah.
connotation to it.
Right.
So
It's a big deal.
they got called to go to this one bar, and there was this guy. He said he's like 6'8", 300 pounds, all muscle,
Wow.
and he was hammered drunk. He had already beat
Boy.
up 10 people in the bar. He beat up both bouncers. And they're like, we got to get this guy out of there. So they show up and he's just sitting there with a pitcher of beer. Back then, you could also order a bowl of, like a cereal bowl full of marijuana and a cereal bowl full of cocaine. But who knows how jacked up this guy was? And so his buddy said, Thompson, he's all yours. Like, mother. So my uncle had, I didn't know at the time, but he had an associate's degree in psychology.
Oh, okay.
And he was actually using it on us as far as my cousins as well.
Oh,
But
sure.
he goes, buddy, I know you've had a hard day. I know you're sad being so far away from home, and it's scary being out here, even though you're a big man.
Yeah.
I understand we have our bad days. Listen, I just want to get you back to your barracks and just sleep it off. I understand you're going through a lot. So the dude stood up, all 6'8" of him, all 300 pounds, walked right up to him and said, "You know what? That's the best thing somebody said to me all day." Broke down crying, hugging my uncle.
Oh,
And
God.
everyone was looking around like, what kind of superpower does this guy have?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he was letting me know there's going to be days.
Yeah.
There's going to be days when, you're not going to be yourself.
Sure.
And it's funny at Uncle Larry's house and my Aunt Jean, um, my cousins and I were cutting hair because that's what you do when you're cousins in the 80s. You got to have the cool high top fades that we had
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
So the group of us, about 12 of us in this room, talking, telling lies. My girl, she looks like this, and I did this, and I'm a hustle. Whatever. I knew we were all lying, but it's fun. It's barbershop mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they asked me, so when you went home, what did your parents say? They said, yeah, you can always join the Navy. We all bust up laughing. It's funny. In that room, I was the first to enlist.
Yeah.
Next, my cousin Brian, shout out to Brian Thompson, Uncle Larry's son. He enlisted the same day as Eddie, and they actually did boot camp together.
Oh, wow.
I
Family
think
of
three other
sailors.
people, altogether about 5 to 7 people in that room that day enlisted within
Wow.
3 months.
That's
Because we knew
amazing.
wasn't anything going on in the Baltimore, Washington, metropolitan area at that time, late 80s, early 90s, but trouble.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we
Yeah.
all enlisted. So My grandfather served in World War I, and he
Wow.
told me stories of, again, it was segregated in 1918. And the part that he told me was, I was like, I read the book, All Quiet on the Western Front. I'm like, did you see horses running around with their guts all out? He goes, no, I was in supply. But where we were at, we could see both incoming shells going to the rear and our shells going outbound
Right,
at night.
right.
Like that was our fireworks show.
Wow.
That's all he said. He didn't want to. Rest
Yeah.
his soul. He never told me that generation didn't really talk about dark stuff. But here's
Yeah.
one thing
Yeah.
I did learn. So evidently, my papa, as I called him, and my uncle Larry, so two of my favorite relatives who were both passed on, they sat down drinking iced tea, much the same as I am right now.
Yeah.
And he told this story about, hey, so did your wife ever find anything from your past? No, Mr. Paris, that's his name, Paris Owens.
Yeah.
He goes, oh, let me tell you something. Mary, she found my box of letters from France. So evidently, by
Uh-oh.
the time the U.S., engaged in World War I, so many Frenchmen had been, killed. There was 3 women to every serviceman in
Ah,
France.
yeah,
So
yeah.
this is a black serviceman named Paris who could speak a little French.
Mm-hmm.
So he was the hookup guy. So at night they're like, all right, you don't have watch, but you go out and get some of that fresh bread, go out and get some of that wine, do whatever. I don't care how you do it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So he had 3 French girlfriends. So you got to understand,
Wow.
in the United States at that time, if he so much as looked at and whistled at a white woman, he
Yeah.
could be murdered.
Oh,
No
yeah.
questions asked. He had 3, and it's confirmed that he was doing things to them in 1918 that you cannot see in any pornographic. My aunt, who was a junior in high school, came home from school. My grandmother was sitting at the kitchen table with a cigarette lit. You read French? She goes, yep. Every word on every page. And my aunt will tell you it is some of the most crazy erotica you've ever
Oh
imagined.
my
But
God.
this nice old man that we knew,
Yeah,
who of course
yeah.
was young at the time. So all that to say, even with all the negative of the conflicts that we had been in since from 1918 all the way up, I don't know of any relatives that were engaged in the Civil War and any of the,
Mm-hmm.
we would have hoped to find letters, but we don't. So for me, it's
No,
from
yeah.
1918 on up to you know modern day,
I
the
mean, but
80s
that's
Cold War. So
anything over a century, which is what your family history includes. I mean, is enormous. I don't think that I have anyone in my family that served during World War One, let alone would they have letters that I could read and get a sense of what they were like when they were my age, or let's be honest, younger than I am now.
yeah, really, really.
And that's just really interesting stuff. So now that you've brought up the letters end of it, I'm gonna have to see if my dad's got a hold of anything from my grandfathers that is G rated, okay to peruse
No,
through.
no, no. You got to get it raw. You got to see it real. And so that's just one of those things. Is just human nature, how people will cope.
Yeah. Yeah.
With stressful times and things going on and things of that nature. So for me, so overall, as we're leading up to, I've just joined.
Mm-hmm.
I felt the military was a good decision for people who were not going to go to college, who
Absolutely.
needed to get away from home,
Mm-hmm.
who needed some discipline in their life. But most of all, something I didn't realize until I joined was people need to spend time around other cultures and actually
Yes.
immerse themselves in other cultures.
Yep.
It's something that in this nation, everyone talked about. I want to see the world. I want to see the world. I want to see the world. But they never leave their beltway, so to speak,
Yeah. Yeah. It's very
certain
true.
radius. I was talking to a gentleman last night. He's a biker. He's part of a club where literally their patch is the stars and bars rebel flag on his back. So he's got a huge, gigantic one. And we
Yeah.
get along just fine and
Yeah.
talk and everything. And I was like, have you ever been out to Montana? Have you ever been out to Oregon? He goes, no, I've never been to Ohio. I'm like, buddy, you're on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
You can go wherever you want. You've got no kids as far as that you claim.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. They
you
ain't
got
found you
you,
yet,
you
so
never been out to Sturgis. He goes, no, not the big one. I've been to Florida. I'm like, dude, you're missing so much. So I
yeah,
think
yeah.
people, really need that as part of their. All human beings need that as part of their development,
Yeah.
is to travel and immerse yourself in other cultures. So
No, that
anyhow,
absolutely. 100%. And yeah, I've known some people who've never left the Bay Area, and it's just it shows. You know.
it does,
It
doesn't it?
definitely
It really
shows.
does. I don't care where you're at; it will show.
Yeah.
Definitely show. So there we go. So now we're up to the point of joining the Navy. Any questions up that point in my life, from being born until I'm 18, about to go on 19, as I join? Any questions with that?
Yeah, so you enlist, you know when you're going to ship out. Do you know what your job is going to be at that point? How did that work in the 80s?
Okay, let's segue into chapter two. Remind you, like I said, it was the Des Plaines Military Processing Center was a hornet's nest of activity, and
Yeah.
all four branches, and we're all going back and forth. We got everything done. Get a ride to boot camp. So of course, I joined the Navy to see the world. I
Yep.
go to Great Lakes, Illinois, 30 minutes from my home.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah,
Well,
they never send you far, it seems like.
and so I was going to go into electronics. I was going to be an ET, electronics
Oh,
technician,
okay. Yeah.
and kind of like what my stepfather did. And the whole thing was pick a job that you know you will have work when you're done if you
Mhm.
decide to leave. So
Smart
my
move.
two boot camp company commanders.
Mhm.
I know one was BT1 McClary, and I can't think of the other guy's name. Do I have it over here? Yeah, look, I just happen to have it here. Got my boot camp class here.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah. Man, those photos haven't changed a bit.
I
Mine looks
know.
exactly the same.
Well, the guy in white. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's maybe I'm getting it wrong. That's McClary.
Mhm.
He was a BT1. The other
Okay.
gentleman, I can't remember right now. I'll remember later. He was a BTC. So
Okay.
these guys are both BTs, and they were crazy.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were really crazy in like a funny way.
Yeah.
I mean, hard nosed. McClary was like this 6'4", just badass.
Yeah.
Just he's that old school salt that stop fighting long enough to take a sip from his beer. You could
Yeah.
tell who he was.
Yeah.
And then the other guy, he was like the short, menacing dude
Oh,
who
yeah. I know plenty of
and
them.
6YO, and I mean hit this career path. He's just like, you mean I can become an officer? I can be enlisted and end up being an officer.
Mhm.
And as we were leaving, he was leaving for OTC.
Oh, wow.
So, and he had been in less than 12 years. So he was definitely the brains of it
Yeah.
all. You could tell, but he was lethal. He was quiet,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Those are the ones you
And
got to watch out for.
the group of us that you see in that picture, we were like the misfits, the ones who had gone to college at UNLV
Mhm.
and thought we could, double our money at the craps table
Yeah.
from with our, that we got for our scholarships. That didn't work.
Yeah.
Other ones spent a little too much time at the club and got 2 or 3 kids.
Yep.
Other ones, went to court and they were told 5 years in jail or I'll let you enlist.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was us. This is, most usually when you get into like, June and July, it's people who just graduated high school
Mhm.
and then gone in. We were the one, every one of us had a story.
Yeah.
Every last one of us had a story. And I just loved it. I loved, Company 174. And in fact, about halfway through boot camp, uh, I don't know if they do it now, but they did a reevaluation, a physical type of a thing.
Mhm.
So everything you did to be processed in, if there's any things that they need to look over again or whatever. So I remember when I was in the processing center 5 weeks earlier, the guy had made a notation. I don't know why he made a notation in the book. And so we get to half. I go in to see the eye doctor, and he opens up and he sees the notation, and he goes, "Okay, sit in that chair. I'm gonna turn on this little light. Tell me what color it is." And
Farnsworth
I
lantern
couldn't
test.
tell. Yeah, the lantern test, and I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Are you lying? What?" He started cussing me out, and I'm just like, "Buddy,
Yeah.
I just did the test. What test did they give you? Well, I put my face up to this scope. And he goes, son of a bitch. They gave me the Army test.
Oh no.
Such confusion. So they sit me off to the side, and I go into this glass enclosed office with this officer, and he said, "Well, what we have is a breach of contract. So you got a choice. If you wish, you can leave the Navy, no harm, no foul.
Mhm.
If you want to stay, you have to pick another job, and you've got the rest of the weekend." It was a Friday, so he's
Yeah.
like, we'll give you until Monday morning to decide.
Okay.
And I literally took 30 seconds to say, ain't nothing going on at home. I'll pick
Yeah.
another job.
Yeah.
And they're like, are you sure? I'm like, I'm halfway done.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
This
not
is
giving
what
up
I'm going to
now.
do. I'm not going to come back
Right,
and start
right.
step one. I'm not David Goggins.
Yeah, yeah.
And he literally laid out 8 cards.
Mhm.
So I had 8 choices. And it came down to two: gas turbines or boiler technician.
Mhm.
And I thought about gas turbines, but I was like, I don't want to lose my hearing. Of course, it shows ignorance because I'm still in a power plant. We have a gas turbine and they're completely enclosed
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
a lot less work. So that could have been a whole different trajectory right there. I
Yeah.
probably would have stayed, I'll be honest, I probably would have stayed in.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And then I'm like, well, boiler technician. Well, both my company commanders are boiler techs. They seem to be having a good time. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're not on a boat.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're
I,
glad to be
I,
off the ship.
I chose boiler technician, and they were again. It was like I'm pleasing my parents,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Fuck yeah, you're one of us now." And um, it's just wild when I think back to that moment. I mean, what's one
Yeah.
thing to decide to join the armed services, but it's a whole other thing to see what's my life is going to be like if I choose something. And then in the car they show
Yeah.
you jobs that you could do when you get out, and I'm like, there's a lot of jobs there and everything else like that.
Yeah.
And here we go.
Yeah.
So
Let's
I
do
go
it.
to the tech school, which is like 3 months, and then it comes time to figure out where you're going to go.
Mhm.
And they're like, okay, sign your name next to the base what you really want to go to.
Yeah, they
So I
always let you list your preferences, and it's like, I might as well just crumple this up and throw it away or incinerate it. It's
like they
meaningless.
said on the wire,
Yeah.
always always when they say pick what you don't want, pick what you really want, because that's what they're going to do to if they're really upset with you or whatever.
Exactly.
So I chose Long Beach. That's where my stepfather was stationed for a while, and he had some
Yeah.
friends. And we had visited Long Beach, and I thought Long Beach was cool. Even the thugged out places of Long Beach, I thought were cool or whatever. So I
Yeah.
chose Long Beach. 3 weeks later, the official orders came out, and the list was there. And they were like, "It's at the back of the class." So I walked up, lifted the paper up, put it back down, and like took 10 steps back. I'm like, this can't be true. This
Uh,
can't be true. Walked back up, looked again. Sure enough, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii.
Whoa, nice.
Yeah, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. How did I get so lucky? Thank you so much. I learned why.
Yeah. Yeah,
Turns
did you
out,
even list that as a preference or
oh, our ship had the USS Bruton 1086. We had a little bit of an issue with methamphetamines, or as they call it
Oh,
in Hawaii, ice. So
damn.
I got there, and uh, at the time I was still growing up. I'm like, I don't know if I want to be with this religious guy anymore. I want to get taste a little bit of everything.
Sure.
And sure enough, I meet a gentleman who was a part of this church, got him out of a lot of dark spots. I'm still friends with his wife. They're not married any longer.
Mhm.
They had both met in medical school
Oh,
uh,
wow.
in New Jersey, and she's from the Bronx, the boogie down Bronx.
Oh, damn.
So maybe next time we talk, I'll ask her if she'll authorize me to talk about the story when Rick James, Prince, and Eddie Murphy showed up at her boot store one night,
Oh, man.
and all the shenanigans that ensued. So
I
that
can
might
only
be a part
imagine.
of her. But she is just like she was like in the mix within New York City.
Yeah.
Romy, love Romy, and so anyways, I got involved in this church that was very religious, we'll just say.
Okay.
And I'm glad. On one note, I'm like, here I am, 19 years old, becoming this very spiritual person, and I'm quote unquote missed out on all the life experiences that a young 20 something goes through between, 18 and 25 and 26. But the good part was, especially where I was going to, I'm so glad because early 90s, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii was just the wild, wild west. I mean,
Oh, yeah, yeah. So
and it
religious
didn't take long
adherence
to
might keep you on the straight and narrow, keep your nose out of
yeah.
trouble. Yeah. Yep.
So I know. So I got there in November of '89. July of '90, we had done all our workups and everything, and we're going to go on our Westpac cruise.
All right.
And it's like 5 days away. And those of you who've gone on large deployments, you just know how like that last 7 days is like setting up for, like you said, a barbecue. Do we
Yeah.
have
On
everything we need,
steroids. Yeah, yeah.
right? My buddy was like, make sure we need to go out and we need to go out and get socks and underwear. I'm like, I'm 19 years old. What do I need socks and underwear? Just trust me.
Yeah,
Trust
you're
me.
gonna
You're
need them.
gonna need extra.
Yep.
He was right. I didn't, suffer. Uh, but I forget. I'll never forget. It was a Monday morning. We go to muster at 6 a.m. and the Bruton was a Knox class frigate, so we had a flight deck like on the neck, like we had the main deck, and the next deck up was the flight deck aft. That's where we all met for muster. So we're there in our group, and then they say, okay, this the oh goodness gracious, the quarter deck is secured.
Hmm.
What? Why is securing the quarter deck now?
Yeah, it
And
seems
then we
odd.
look down the pier. Here comes three Chrysler Reliant K cars, and the guys stepping out all have the nice floral Aloha shirts with their IDs, NCIS, 12 of them.
Oh, yeah, that's a
And
big
that's what we
problem.
said. We're like, ooh, what do we do? We were accustomed to someone always getting in trouble.
Right,
So
right.
we're like, we did it this time. And sure enough, I'm sorry about that. I've got a train that actually rides on the rail. So you have to, it's one
Uh,
of those old school,
well,
like,
we want trains to be on the rails, not off of them.
thank you,
So,
not off
yeah.
the rails. Like, yeah, hopefully this podcast isn't too far off.
No, no, it's
They
it's fine.
snatched away 21 people in one day. Huge
Whoa.
crystal meth ring. Of course, those of you may not know, when you smoke crystal meth, it's odorless and colorless, and you can stay up for days at a time. So they recognize people, the same people, were doing the same watch station for 3 days straight.
Big
And
red
guys
flag.
were paying them $100 to get out of, to get out of duty. So they're
Yeah.
like, how is someone able to be literally in front of the XO and the CO for 3 days straight?
Yeah,
And
something's
they
not
knew they
right.
had a problem. So they set up a sting operation. They were tapping phones. They were getting photographs and video footage. And basically, anyone and everyone who they felt were
Hmm.
involved, they just swept them all up on a Monday. 22 people showed up the next day on Tuesday, and we're leaving on Sunday morning.
Holy shit.
7 month appointment.
Oh my god.
That's how I met my good buddy Richard Kenzel. I wish he could be here. He lives about 2 hours away in Winchester, Virginia. Him and I get together. We say the same thing. I know we're both going to heaven because we spent 3 years in hell.
Yeah.
Life
Yeah.
in the boiler room, 18 and 6, 18 hours
Oh.
up and 6 hours off to do everything else you need to do. And it is a crazy, psychotic environment where the whole thing is you've got to be prepared for if the big one happens, major steam leak, major fuel oil leak, all these
Yeah.
different things.
Yeah.
Right now there is a 19-year-old hungover that has the power to launch missiles
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of a certain scenario. And it's like, well, for us, we could shut down the entire ship.
Oh, for sure.
So
Yeah.
as that deployment went from Westpac into Desert Shield, so we were the first battle group that were a
Wow.
part of that. So we get done doing our cross the equator events. Okay, I'm not
Yes.
going to snitch on anybody. So we did that, and that same day, as we got done doing those events, and then now I'm now a shellback or whatever, go from being a wog to a shellback.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we were getting showered, getting dressed, and of course, everyone who works with engineering and propulsion and power,
Yep.
we all hang together, we sleep together, all that. We immediately felt the ship do a hard port turn. And
Oh
I
boy.
mean, you can hear the turbines winding up.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we're like, we're doing a flank bell. Like you just by there's certain sounds that you equate to how fast you were going.
Mm-hmm.
So we were
Yeah.
going about 25 knots due north, and we didn't know why
Yeah.
until the CO came across and said, "Oh, by the way, we had a good time doing that. Yeah, we had a good time doing that event.
Yeah.
But just so you know, Iraq just invaded Kuwait. We're
Oh.
heading to the Persian Gulf.
Oh wow.
I'll let you know more when I have it. Just cool as a cucumber. Click." And we're looking at each other like we're at fucking war.
Oh wow.
So halfway, a bit 2 days later, about halfway before we're on station, running some heavy seas. And normally, those of you who've been on the Indian Ocean, it's placid. It's like a lake.
Yeah.
It was angry that day.
Yeah.
We were taking some heavy rolls, and I'll never forget. It was lunchtime. I think it was Slider Day of all things, so it'd have been Thursday, and we're getting our stuff, and the engineering alarm goes off. The doo doo alarm, doo doo doo. So that means everyone in engineering, no matter what you're doing or where you're at, get down to your engineering space.
Yeah.
So we're running to our engineering spaces. So on a Knox class frigate, there's basically three main areas. You've got the main engine room, then there's a bulkhead, and then there's the boiler room where we generate the steam
Mm-hmm.
that propels the ship. But also the next space is basically our electrical center with our electrical steam powered electrical generators and all the main buses and all that sort of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we're running. I'm about to go down into the boiler room, and then battle stations went off, general quarters.
Oh my god.
So I'm at the door. My good buddy, he's there as well. And like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And I'll never forget Petty Officer Ski, because everyone has a ski on their ship. He
Yeah.
was the ski of all skis. Anyone who's Polish and your name isn't Ski, there's one person designated as just Ski.
Exactly.
He
Yeah.
goes, Butch, you go down Bowman, suit up. I'll never forget. And I need to thank him for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny when you're 19 and your management staff is 30, you just think these guys have seen it all. And
Yeah.
then when you turn 30, you're like, I still don't know nothing. But
Yeah.
I have to give it to him. Hats off to Andrew Simikowski. He made a decision that could have altered everything. What going on was a major fuel oil leak. And
Mm-hmm.
major fuel leaks, one of two things happen. Either a fireball
Oh
kills
god.
everyone within the boiler room, or the ship itself just explodes.
Oh my god.
So, yeah. And so for about a half hour, I'm in repair five. I'm suiting up in my firefighter gear.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting pumped up, maybe a little too pumped up. They're like, Bowman, shut the fuck up. Calm
But you're 19.
down.
You're doing
Yeah, I'm
exactly as a
19.
19-year-old
I'm
should.
19. I'm like, hey, I might die. Today, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I'm ready to see Jesus. I mean, really, I went to this weird uber religious moment of we're going to do what we got to do, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen nothing, ain't been nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, I'm getting ready. And they're like, Bowman, you're still here. Shut up. Okay. After about a half hour, they called us to go down and help clean up. We get there, and we use at that time on our ship, conventional boilers, we use diesel fuel marine, which is like kerosene.
Right.
If
Right.
you've ever smelled kerosene, the fumes are very thick. So what happens in this case? We had about 300 gallons atomized being sprayed out of a tube about the size of this pen.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's just whipping around. It's spraying kerosene on a hot boiler surface that's about 300 degrees.
Oh
It's
my god.
spraying on other steam lines that are like 700 degrees. And what happens is the fumes consume the entire space.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what would happen is the kerosene would soak through the insulation, get to those 700-degree pipes, and it would just create like a dragon fireball. It would just follow um, the path of the fumes. And just think of a very humid day, but instead of humid because of water, it's humid because of atomized kerosene fumes. Um, so typically you would die first because it would suck up all the oxygen. So
Yeah.
everyone in that space would just suffocate and die on the spot. But then of course when the fireball reaches its maximum point, you're just incinerated. And at that
Man.
point, all you can do is shut the doors and wait for the fire to go out. So this
Right.
is
Right.
for people in at that time, especially on nice class frigates, it's the one thing you prepare for because there's really no escape. They have no choice but to lock you in.
Mm-hmm.
It did not ignite. And I'll never forget Louis Gajaro, old school salt, who'd been in for 8 years, got out, made a family, said, I got to go back in.
Oh boy.
He's like one of those old grizzly guys. His dungarees, we were wearing dungarees at the time, were all like bleached white. They were so old. This
Yeah.
thing lasts forever,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
course. And they were easily 12-year-old dungarees. So he's like, how come he gets to wear, what was it called? Stonewash dungarees.
Yeah. 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 He was the poster
Can't buy
boy.
those. You got to earn those. I'll never forget how he said it. He's a Cuban gentleman from Oklahoma. He said, I don't know how of course, being in the boiler room for so long, his hearing is gone, so everything
Oh,
is
of
out.
course. He yells everything. Yeah.
I don't know how we survived this. This thing did not light up by the grace of God.
Yeah.
That's how he said it. He didn't go to church or whatever, but he said it looking at me as if to say, maybe because I was the spiritual one of the whole group,
Mm-hmm.
that's why we were spared. But everything was there. The entire keeping it basic, triangle of fire was there. We had more than enough fuel. We had more than enough oxygen. We had more than enough heat sources.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, literally, we just wiped off the walls and kept it moving.
Yeah.
So that event is a pinnacle point for me. And I implore all of you, I'm going to say it often, if you have not gone to the VA, go.
Yes.
Because that of everything in my childhood and everything up to that point in the military of just being a high stress situation, that was the closest I came to actually dying. So the VA now compensates me because of that day. And
Wow.
I implore anyone watching this who is a veteran, if you have not gone to the VA to see if you're eligible for benefits, please go. Because
Yes.
I just thought it was a normal. This is just normal. You're just a
Yeah.
sailor.
You
This is what
19. What do you
you
know?
that is not normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I can look back in my mind's eye and I can remember a chest of flange shields, which is basically like a metal disc.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you put them in, where piping comes together or certain valves or
Mm-hmm.
whatever like that. And so they're relatively small, but at that time for storage purposes, they put them around these like metal rings to
Mm-hmm.
tell you what size they were or whatever. Of
Yeah.
course, we had those on a bulkhead,
Yeah.
on the side of the ship, right above our fuel oil strainers.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy rolls, it fell, it clipped the lines. Like I said, those lines no bigger than this pen,
Mm-hmm.
and they had 100 psi pushing kerosene. So literally the world's largest aerosol can,
Yeah. Yeah.
right
Wow.
next to our alpha boiler. So go to the VA and see if you're eligible because incidents like that, even though to us it was like everyday thing and we just kept it moving,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's very serious. And anyways, so that was like the most exciting part of that deployment. Other than
That's
that,
a biggie.
we were our ship was so old, all we had operational was just filthy language. That's it. Not guns.
Sometimes all you need.
So we stayed in the Gulf of Oman or the GU, which is
Mm-hmm.
right before you go through the Straits of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf. We boarded a few ships, and we can get into all that stuff later. But basically, just my time deploying with the Navy and seeing the cultures. That was everything. We visited 12 different countries.
Wow.
The guys tried to get me to lose my virginity in Africa because it's the motherland. Interesting. On that trip, we were at sea for like 38 days. We didn't get a beer day,
Wow.
But we were running out of fuel, and we're like, "Where are we going to go? Let's call the Pentagon." Pentagon called back and said, "You guys are going to Djibouti," and which was at the time it's at the bottom of the Red Sea, Gulf of
Mm-hmm.
the Dead.
Yeah.
At the time was a French Foreign Legion base. Now it's a jump off for special forces going into Yemen. But we're like, we got a ship full of dudes who've been at sea for 37 days, and we're going to a place with the word booty in it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, this
Oh,
is
yeah.
not good.
Sure enough, I knew card carrying Ku Klux Klan members that were in line at the Chicken Ranch to do that. And I can say
Wow.
I did not. In fact, my entire enlistment, I can honestly say I joined the Navy and left the Navy still a virgin. Now,
Yeah.
that
Wow.
may seem like a little odd, but you got to understand when you go to countries where human trafficking is legal, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's every for a 19, 20-year old person of any gender, you can
Mm-hmm.
get
Yeah.
whatever you want for less than $30.
Yeah.
So,
It's
you
wild.
know, I poked my just for the hell of it. I said, you know what, we need to see this. So I poked my head into a bar in Subic Bay,
Mm-hmm.
Olongapo, called Club Metallica, where
Well, I
they
mean,
can
you being a
keep.
Metallica
I
fan,
know,
so
right?
like a moth to a flame, you couldn't help it.
Huge Bose stereo system. I mean, top of the line Bose stereo system, blasting everything Metallica had made up until 19, and Justice for All, 89. I
Hmm.
can only imagine what happened in 91 when, the Black
Yeah.
Album came out. But basically, it was all Metallica all the time. And you
Hell yeah.
had young women, 14 to 19 years old, dancing on the bar in bikinis with numbers. And I'm like, okay, this is not for us.
Yeah.
This is not cool. But it's interesting that the United States government will talk so badly about human trafficking. But if it's legal in that nation, government employees and military personnel are, it's quote unquote, it's a part of the experience.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
something I saw while I was out. I
Yeah.
learned that, any kind of meat barbecued on a stick, just don't ask, eat it.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't ask questions. Just
Don't
enjoy.
ask questions,
What
just
you don't
eat
know
it.
can't hurt you.
There you go. But I'm so thankful of all the traveling that I did. Went to
Sure.
South America, went to Canada, Philippines, of course, when you go out west. Uh, Having set foot on the motherland, it's a certain electrical buzz. I don't care who you are, where you're from. It's something that within our DNA that says this is where we started
Yeah. Yeah.
here on this block of land or whatever. So I'm so thankful, for that. And I'm also thankful, like I said, became part of a church, and we had churches in different countries that we had started. So I we were in Singapore, and I think we kind of mentioned this yesterday. Singapore is a strange city. It's beautiful, it is clean, but it is a seafaring destination. And
Yeah.
ships have been, doing trade on the island of Singapore for centuries.
Hmm.
When you park your ship around the islands, there's really no harbor. You just
Hmm.
kind of park at a certain place. It looks like a Walmart parking lot of anything and everything. So it's one of those places where there's a lot of trade going on.
Hmm.
Um, Public transit is stellar,
Yeah.
stellar, whether it be a double decker bus or you take the subway, and every subway stop is a mall.
Yeah.
You can go shopping or whatever. I know the banner I got behind me, Bedlam Micro Speedway, I got the idea of racing small scale RC cars from that trip in
Hmm.
1990 in Singapore. And I saw some stuff and I was like, I
Fabulous.
want to do that.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. That's a whole nother story, a whole nother day. But there is a dark side to it. So I was fortunate that I had some church family there,
Hmm.
and I
Oh
visited and
wow.
had lunch. And it's hilarious because the minister at the time, he was born and raised in New Delhi, became a doctor. His wife was from Texas. So I'm just like, okay, well, we're going to go there for lunch. Let's go buy McDonald's. How much are cheeseburgers? 10 cents
What?
American. I've got 30 hamburgers and cheeseburgers.
Holy shit.
I
Yeah.
show up at
Chowed
their
up.
house, and I forgot he used to be, of course, Hindu, and his
Oh, right.
town. So, they don't eat meat.
Of course not.
I
Yeah.
got 30 burgers. But I think their son, they would let have a burger from time to time or whatever
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
weren't into anymore. But they just looked at me like, you better put your hand down. Don't even think about it. Like,
Yeah.
the mother who was in town from India, she's like, "Oh, we have guests. Where are you from?" We're like, "The U.S." I'll never forget. You know, everyone, especially in Asian cultures, everyone eats rice. Okay,
Yes,
he
yes.
literally poured like this huge thing of rice. We're gonna need a lot of rice tonight. We're
Yeah.
not gonna have enough rice for the Americans. They eat a lot, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I'm glad I had that experience. But a couple of my guys that I worked with in engineering, they decided, you know, we're gonna go out and party.
Mhm.
And like I said, there is a dark side, and there is mafia that have existed for hundreds of years in that area. You know, I think one
Mhm.
word is triads, but basically it's just a lot of criminal organizations that can get you anything you want. Well,
Yep.
um, they go partying on this rooftop bar, and they get into a fight with these Australians,
Oh, jeez.
and they kind of got mixed up. But at the end of the fight, they're leaving. They're like, "Where's what's his name? Oh, he probably left early or whatever. He said he was going to go."
Mhm.
They get back to the ship. He's not there. They're
Oh,
drunk,
shit.
thinking of it. They woke up the next day and we were told, "Yeah, he was found dead." Like what?
Oh
So
my god.
someone had grabbed him and thrown him off the rooftop bar. It's like 3 stories up.
Oh, get.
He landed in a potting platter. You know, like those.
Yeah.
There's sometimes you see those large, you know, potters with plants or whatever like that, and
Sure.
he landed in that. Was still alive.
Oh my god.
Slowly died in that. Someone heard the moans and or whatever,
Oh no.
and they got him out, and it was too late. So that was the first, you know, serious incident of someone losing their life
Mhm.
while on deployment, and it sucks.
Oh yeah.
It really does. But at the same time, you're reminded there are certain places in this world that, as beautiful as they can be,
Mhm.
you know, I know Singapore, like they have a Formula One race, they do it at night, and it's just lights, camera, action.
Yeah.
That drink, the Singapore Sling, that hotel is still open. You can still go there.
Mhm.
While we were there, about 2 weeks before I got there, this guy from Australia was backpacking, and you know how there's large backpacks you use like when you're like backpacking across Europe has a lot of zippers.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they tell you put locks on your zippers. That's why there's 2 zippers for every pocket. Put a lock on
Yep.
it. Well, he didn't. Police were chasing a drug trafficker. He saw the backpack. He just ran up, opened, dropped in a brick size of pure opium, and kept running.
Holy
Now,
crap.
in America, the police would grab you as the backpack guy and
Mhm.
maybe interrogate you, but they saw what happened. They're still going after this other guy. Not in Singapore at that time.
Singapore, that is serious business. They will execute you.
He
Yeah.
was executed 2 weeks later. That Australian,
Oh
two
my
weeks later.
god.
They're like, but it's your responsibility, and we don't know if you're part of the drug ring.
Oh god.
Because that's how they do it. They can just
Yeah.
run through the streets, put it in this guy's bag, and he's going to bring that bag over here. And especially being a tourist,
Yeah.
you know, they're
You
not
don't
going to be
know.
involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a backpack. I still have backpacks or whatever, but that's one thing someone told me. You need to get locks.
Yeah.
Put
Oh yeah.
locks on your backpack, and never have gone there. So you know, growing up. You know, this is like real life, real
Yeah.
stuff. But I
Crazy
so I
stuff.
enjoyed my time in. It was actually, you know, I had enough. Working
Well,
18
yeah.
hour shifts. I'm like, I can get paid a lot more. And to give you an idea of how they were phasing out boilers, when I joined in '89, the re-sign bonus is 20 grand. So
Ah.
you re-sign, get 10 grand up front, and
Mhm.
then they prorate that other 10,000 the rest of you enlistment.
For sure.
Well, I said, they were like, "What can we get you to stay?" I said, "I want 30 grand."
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Like, how about a Snickers?
Yeah, yeah, they were not didn't need to
Yeah.
keep you. They were moving on
So
from that
I
point.
was
Yeah.
stationed in Hawaii. I got out of the Navy and I moved to the Big Island, Hawaii. Became a paid firefighter for 3 years, which
Beautiful.
was interesting. Like I said, I love
Yeah.
to immerse myself in cultures, and being a loud, large black man from the East Coast, it's kind of tricky at first, but
Yeah. Yeah.
you get used to it. But I got done with. I felt, you know what, this just isn't for me. I want to go back to the mainland,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I went back to the East Coast in November of '96. Met a girl, and she was pregnant by February. So I have a lovely 24-year-old daughter. You know, she's 24 now,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
she's my heart and soul.
Oh, that's
But she
great.
got into social work, and she said, "Dad, I'm concerned about some things I'm seeing. You're showing some behaviors of, at minimum,
Hmm.
being bipolar,
Oh,
or no,
geez.
at minimum, PTSD, at
Well,
maximum bipolar,
yeah,
you know."
yeah.
And so I had been seeing a family therapist, but I hadn't actually gone to the VA.
Hmm.
And after going to the VA and getting some more deeper treatment, found out that yeah, I'm suffering from PTSD, anxiety, and since I've been working in the government, still doing boilers,
Yeah.
and where we're currently working, I don't want to put that out there just yet. We'll talk. That's a whole entire other podcast where I work
Yeah.
in Washington D.C.
Okay.
Um, Being in that kind of environment, anyone who's in a high anxiety environment for long periods of time,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
going to develop PTSD in certain ways,
Sure.
certain things. And of
Hmm.
course, being a military vet who was a snipe, as our nickname is, in the
Yeah.
boiler rooms and the spaces, we're just known as these crazy sons of bitches. We're
Yep.
just
Got a
off the
reputation.
wall. We're heavy drinkers. We don't do relationships well. We're going to be we carry our hearts on our sleeves,
Hmm.
and so we're total softies. We fall in love fast and want to get married right away, but then have these horrible divorces. And it's just, I've been married once, and it only lasted 13 months.
Oh,
And
wow.
she started dating her new husband 6 months after the wedding. Whole other story, whole other day. So
Whew.
now you're dealing with violent episodes of revenge and
Yeah, yeah.
saving someone's honor or whatever. So I got with the VA. I've got my benefits. I'm doing much better now.
That's great.
But at the same time, I cherish that time of growing up from April of '89 until July 2nd of 1992. 3 months, 3 years, 2 months, 2 days, too long, as I say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I loved, I'm so thankful I had it. I really am.
For sure. Well, and
No.
especially like you mentioned, if you're still working with boilers, which is interesting. I had another boiler technician on
Mm-hmm.
a few weeks ago. He still works with boilers. It's insane.
Mm.
Like, because
It's just one of those things you just there's an adrenaline factor of when all hell's breaking loose and you're already controlling energy that can destroy a city block. But
yeah,
then it's starting to go to that boundary of I'm about to kill people, and you kind of wrangle it and bring it back. There is a rush that
yeah,
I cannot explain. But the bad part is you're kind of twisted and you're expecting that within life, and it's not there.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Exactly. It puts you on
I gotta
edge
see that.
when.
I want to see that episode now. Maybe you should have his boat on there.
Oh
It
yeah,
would be
yeah. Just
hilarious. That's all I gotta say. It would just
boiler
be,
talk with Tommy and Sean.
oh my gosh, woo!
Well, yeah, and you
So,
guys were in about the same time too, so it was right
mhm.
as that rate was winding down.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
but that's fascinating that you both stuck with that because I worked for
Wait,
a
what
non.
was your rate? What was your rate?
I was master at arms, and
Oh, you're the police. Yeah.
yeah, but I had a similar experience as you because I believe it or not I actually got in on an EOD contract. Needless
Ooh.
to say, did not work. So it was like, okay, you can be undesignated. Knew I didn't want to do that, or you could be master at arms or machinist mate. I thought, well, I don't really want to turn wrenches. I maybe I'll be busted in some heads. I'll be a master at arms. But then I ended up just driving small boats, doing security boats. So
Okay.
I was never checking ID. I got real lucky, and then reserves has been nothing to do with my job field at all. I ended up in logistics all over the map. Um, but I worked, well, actually, I kind of work for them now again, a nonprofit where they're helping veterans as they're transitioning out of the military, figure out what they want to do. And I see very few people who take exactly what they did in the Navy or any branch of service and translate that to civilian life. So to have two boiler technicians in a row, that's what they did. It's like, what? That never happens.
You gotta remember, we would sit at night, 2, 3 in the morning about shit. 18 and 6. I do 18 and 6 out there. How much overtime I'm gonna get, and this and that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm
That's
gonna
what you
get paid.
think.
That's what we talked about that. We knew
Yeah.
there's that you gotta have power, you gotta have steam at least,
Oh, yeah.
and all those skills with wrenches and valves and piping and water pressure and what hydrodynamics. it encompasses so much. So
It
literally,
does.
and you'll see when Tommy and I get together late at night, we're already making our plan. We're making our escape.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
we're already calling places and how much would you? Oh, you gonna pay us $18 an hour, which may not sound like much, but when you're getting paid kibbles and bits
Oh,
and
yeah.
hamburgers,
It's a big deal.
and you're working 18 hours, like, oh man, I'll make this work. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, that's hilarious. Well, and yeah, it's interesting just the departure from, you know, military life to getting into civilian life where it's like, "Oh no, I have to make my own plan. What do I want to do?"
uh,
Oh.
uh,
Yeah, it's
it can be
it's a
tricky. It can be very tricky. So
wild journey, but yeah, well, and thank you for sharing yours. I mean, 3 years, it doesn't sound like a lot of time, but I mean, that's a transition in and of itself. I mean, going from, all right, I'm fresh out of high school to I'm a young man. I have career prospects, job prospects, some life experience no one else is going to have. Certainly
mhm.
not at that age. And
Yeah,
onwards and upwards from there, and still growing.
yeah. I love it. It's with everything going on now. With I know Roe versus Wade being overturned yesterday. My daughter is a lesbian,
Hmm.
and I served with openly gay people at a time when you quote unquote couldn't be openly gay. The
Right.
whole thing was simple. Are you going to show up for watch, not only on time, but early? Are you going to do the job and
Yeah,
not leave me a mess when I show up? And
exactly.
that mentality I use for everything. I'm like, you guys got to understand in this world,
Hmm.
you don't know what people are doing behind closed doors or what their true beliefs are. Of course, back then we didn't have social media and everything else.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
at the end of the day, there's a certain level of, as a part of society, this is my place, this is my job, these are my rules or whatever, and this is how I live my life for the greater part of everyone. If we just had that, what I call that shipmate mentality,
Hmm.
we got to handle our own problems, whether we like each other or not. And I mentioned I served with some gentlemen who were card carrying members of the Ku Klux Klan
Wow.
in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, had witnessed over 15 murders.
Oh my
I had
God.
also been with gangbangers from Detroit, Chicago, LA, who had close friends shot and killed right next to them. Um,
Man.
and everything in between,
Yep.
everything and anything in between that could manage. But the thing was, when it was time to do work, that's how you're judged on a ship.
Yep.
Can I trust you? Do you do a good job? And it's funny, as you hear, like one of my heroes right now is David Goggins, as far as
Yeah, yeah. He's
overcoming
amazing.
adversity. Shout out to David Goggins. Um, when he mentions even within the elite, special forces of all the military, you get there and these guys are the elite of the elite, but within the elite of the elite, there are guys that they feel, oh, he's a shitbird. He doesn't do shit.
Yeah,
And
yeah. It's
I'm
the
like,
same
what?
thing. You can't escape it. You got to
Yeah, you
deal with it.
can't escape it. It's human nature. So
Yeah.
all that being said, it's just I think for my life with everything going on, it keeps me cool and calm, knowing that this is just another phase
Yep.
that we're going through. Things that actually been worse, but it's a slippery slope. If someone can take away this group's personal freedoms, they can take anyone's for any reason. So stand
Absolutely.
by, or what we say back today, stand the fuck by. Here it
Yeah.
comes. But I'm gonna live my life.
Yep.
I'm going to live my life, and I'm there for my veterans. If anybody wants to get in touch with me, do so. If you need to talk, I am here. And I definitely say, get to the VA, get mental health help because we all need it, and find out what benefits are available. We've earned them. So,
Absolutely. Well said. Well, Sean, thank you so much for coming
you,
on,
Andrew,
sharing
awesome.
sharing your story. I love hearing these stories, and like I always say with people, I mean, you served from 89 to 92. I was well, for active 09 to 13, and
Okay.
just I'm always blown away by the how much I have in common with fellow veterans. I mean, even different time periods, different rates. It's just there's so many boxes checked off in meeting someone where it's like, all right, we could skip to the next level and just talk shop. I mean, we know what we're talking about.
Exactly.
It's so much
Exactly.
fun. But yeah, thanks so much for coming on. And yeah,
Thank
as
you for
Sean
having
said,
me. This has been great. I can't wait to do this again.
yes, have to have you on and tell some more stories. Have you and Tommy on. We got to do
Oh,
a
I'm gonna
boiler
tell you that right
temperature
now. Get your
episode.
popcorn and make sure you got a full glass of tea to drink. Because
Heck
I'm
yeah.
just sister. Let me tell you, it's gonna be a minute. It's gonna,
Yes.
you gotta make sure you have plenty of videotape or whatever you use on the podcast. Because we're gonna once we get started, just hold on. I can tell you that right. Not even meeting the guy.
Yeah.
Hold
Yeah. Awesome.
on.
Well, Sean, thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.
You as well. You as well.